Hello, and that's not gonna never not be funny, is it? Okay, hello and welcome back to another podcast. It's our third one.
Yay.
Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Milestone, guys. We've made it.
Is it?
It's
Is
number
3
3.
a milestone?
No, it's not a milestone.
Oh, okay.
So, in the last podcast, we talked about the people of China, the children's names that we teach, and today we're not going to talk about China. We're going to talk about something else, because we don't want to just talk about China in every podcast. We want to do stuff that is our interest as well. So for this episode, we're going to talk about our favourite films. Since we have 2 film students on this podcast, we might as well talk about films. So who wants to start?
I'll just mention that we watched 2001 A Space Odyssey. Well, we watched it a couple of hours. When did it finish? Like a couple of hours ago.
About 7?
Yeah.
And it was my first time watching it. It's Amy's 4th time, did you say?
Yeah, something like that.
Tom and Ed have also both seen it one time before. And I kind of just left it a bit mind-boggled, to be honest. Which I think is a testament to how good it is, because I've seen a lot of things, seen a lot of weird stuff. You know, I'm pretty unshockable. I think American Horror Story, there's, so many disgusting, gory, like crazy things that go on in that alone. So I didn't think I could be shocked, but that film shocked me a lot. And I'm fascinated by it. And I think I liked it.
You think you do? You need to watch it again.
Yes, I do. And I was sat just at the kitchen table just talking to Amy about it while she was cooking for ages, just like looking up conspiracy theories and everything that was going on. And yeah,
Stanley
it was incredibly
Kubrick.
interesting.
Stanley Kubrick faked the moon landing. Yeah. So this podcast
is not going to be about 2001
we
We are going to discuss it because we are each gonna talk about our favourite films, and recently 3 of the 4 of us have done this challenge on Twitter, the 20 movie challenge that Ron Howard tweeted. So we're going to be talking about that as well. But like 2001, I think is a good start to the podcast.
It was your start, wasn't it?
Since Beth brought it up, and it was Amy's number 1 in the 20 movie challenge. So
it's not my favourite film, but it was like the challenge was films that have impacted you, and like 2001 Space Odyssey is definitely my number 1.
Well,
so let's start.
You wrote about it.
Yes, you did.
I did.
So let's start there. So let's ask, why is 2001 A Space Odyssey your number 1 most impactful film? Or why was that the one that you put number 1?
Because the first time I watched it, like I was saying, like to Beth earlier, that the first time I watched it, I had no idea that films could be like that. I didn't know that it was kind of allowed for there to be no closure, no answers, no ending, really, no significant answers for people.
There's no
to
moral of the story, is there?
No.
That's a big, all films, most films to some extent have a message, they have a moral, they have a hero, they have a bad guy.
Yeah.
There's no moral to this because it's
Yeah. Well, for my dissertation, I wrote about 2001 Space Odyssey and how it goes against the classical Hollywood cinema rules type of thing. And I can't remember, there's like 7 main rules and it breaks every single one. And if you think about it, if you really, really think about it, all the films that come out, they're all written in the same way, unless it's like an original whatever, but most films, like big blockbuster films,
Mainstream
they're
films,
so predictable, so boring, so whatever, and they just convince you that they're interesting and good because they've got really cool CGI, or there's some loud bangs that go on, or there's jump scares, which is apparently the new form of horror films. But if you read into 2001 Space Odyssey, there's so much about it that's so like different.
Well, it was my second time watching it today. The first time I watched it, I think I was 15 and at my grandma's house, and I didn't watch it with Grandma, obviously, because I didn't subject that to her. But I watched it, and my untrained film mind was just watching it like, what is going on? I watched it all the way through. I got through it, but yeah, I didn't enjoy it. I would have given it a 2 out of 10. But today, watching it again, but between today and the last time I'd watched it, I had watched a few videos on YouTube, not necessarily explaining it, but just giving their theories on what they thought about the film, and it definitely helped my understanding and helped me get through the second one, the second viewing easier. And I'd say it. Sorry, quick break there. Amy's making me laugh because we constantly interrupt each other, and she just put her hand over her mouth.
Sorry,
so
I was going to interject.
But yes, I enjoyed Space Odyssey a hell of a lot more the second time around, so I'd probably give it now a 6 out of 10. The ending is still baffling. The characters are on purposely two-dimensional. They're not the focus of the film, but still. A 6 out of 10 is what I'd give it now. But I'm not going to watch it again, I don't think, because I've seen it now. I've seen all the analysis videos on it. I don't need to watch it
But let
again.
me ask you, does that mean now that you have to have closure? You have to understand?
Absolutely not.
Well, yes, it does, because you saw that film and you had to go and watch videos that explained it for you.
I was 15.
Even now, though, you're like, oh, I like it better now that I know what's going on. But why?
But you now know what's going on and probably like it more for that reason.
I haven't watched any videos that explain it. I've just done research with Arthur C. Clarke and his side of the...
So you've researched it? So you've looked into it into more depth?
Arthur C. Clarke basically helped write the script for it.
Yeah, but you've looked into it, and you obviously wrote your dissertation, so you've seen many different viewpoints and interpretations. So
I've not seen interpretations of the actual story. And I've not read Arthur C. Clarke's book, which is 2001: Space Odyssey, which explains everything. Well, not everything, but it's much clearer.
I have to say, my immediate reaction was to want to go and watch a bunch of YouTube videos on it. I don't know if that's for closure, because, like you say, Stanley Kubrick didn't want to give any answers. He didn't want to give anything away. He was tight-lipped about it, so you literally can't get closure. I just maybe this is because I did English literature, and just reading into everything at every different angle is just what we did.
Yeah.
So I think I just wanted to see different readings of it and different I didn't want to know the answers, because there is no answers, and I kind of have my own thoughts on it, but
it's the same.
That was my reaction.
It's the same with Inception. The ending of Inception, Christopher Nolan will never tell us whether he's back in the real world or not. We'll only have our own theories to go on, but
I like that though, but the story leading up to that is a tad more clear than Space Odyssey.
Well,
there's
Inception,
just nothing
you just have to
to
watch it a few times.
Yes, I know. But still, there's just no clarity whatsoever. It's completely down to interpretation, really. What is the monolith?
Yeah.
God.
Is it God?
To some people.
I think it's
time
not? And human
but is God time?
progression.
See, don't you just love that though? That you can have a huge, massive conversation and argument just about one film.
Doesn't need to take 2.5 hours to reach it though, does it?
I was very smug that I found that I noticed something that you didn't notice. Your quote unquote trained film eye, that Hal was shaped like the monolith.
Yeah.
And
That was a very good spot. Very good spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder how many people who've seen Space Odyssey are now listening to this and thinking, "Oh my god!" and they've just gone back to the scene.
That'd be awesome if so, but I think
You're
it's
welcome.
a fairly common. Yeah, you are welcome. I think it's a fairly common.
I mean, it's a rectangle, a black rectangle.
I know, but I didn't see that because the red eye and the speaker underneath it, small things like that, it can throw you off. But that's good, because now Beth pointed that out. I now know something more about the film that I didn't know already.
Yeah, so you don't need 3 years of a film degree.
No, you don't. You really don't. Films is just for sheer enjoyment, and that is it. You do not need to do a degree in it.
And now you have to read a book that I've read and tell me something I don't know about it, and then we're even.
That's going to take ages. I'm not doing that. Anyway, okay, so is there anything else you want to say on Space Odyssey, Amy?
It's really good. if you haven't seen
If
it,
you don't like it, you're wrong.
yeah, you're entitled to your wrong opinion. No, if you haven't seen it, watch it, but dedicate an afternoon to it.
You have to be in the right mindset.
You have to be in the right mindset for it. You have to be open-minded and probably enjoy sci-fi films as well.
Yeah, so a lot of permutations to be able to enjoy this film, probably.
And you have to be very patient.
Yes.
Definitely.
Incredibly patient.
Very long
yeah.
scenes, especially with all the spaceships and. But it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah,
It's nice to see that they did it in their hand. You know, they made those things. There's no CGI or anything like that. It's very interesting.
The whole painting thing that you said about the background, that was so fascinating.
All the stars.
Tom's laughing.
Tom is laughing.
Sorry, all the stars in the background where you can see the ships and stuff. Kubrick actually calculated how long it would take to manually paint them for each scene that he wanted. And it was like 13 years if it was one person, so he hired 12 people and they got it done within like a year.
He's a smart bloke.
And the attention to detail is insane. I only discovered this today after my fourth watching, that in one of the scenes, it's where one of the small pods turns around, it says like explosive bolts, blah blah blah. There's like a pamphlet that is inside the little pod explaining how to replace the bolts, and it's like Kubrick actually mapped out the whole, it's like a little instruction manual, exactly. And he didn't even have to do that. He wasn't going to be in shot.
How do you know he did that? You just know from studying it.
Yeah, IMDb. Where I live.
Good
It must be right
IMDb.
then. It must be right.
The trivia page is always good.
Trivia page is good, yeah, but you can
They're
write your own
verified,
things.
you know.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Okay. Right.
Let's talk about our favourite films.
Ed is itching to talk
No,
about
I'm not.
his favourite film.
I'm
Yes, you are.
I'm
So why
happy-
don't we get it over with?
No,
Ed?
I'm happy to... Okay, fine. Since you put me on the spot now. So, I'm sure... What was that? Everyone knows my favourite director is Tarantino. And my favourite film of all time is Pulp Fiction.
Let's go to your little drum roll.
Yeah, well, Pulp Fiction, for me, it's got one of the... quite possibly the best script ever. It's just fantastic. Great characters, relatable, funny.
Who do you relate to?
Yeah. Who do you relate to?
It's just not...
Is it
Not
Butch?
Quentin
Cokehead.
Tarantino's character, please.
Marcellus Wallace in that
Absolutely
scene?
not. Definitely not. Not relating to the characters per se, but relating to what they talk about. They talk about burgers. They talk about going to the cinema and that you can buy a beer in Amsterdam. Yeah, exactly.
I do.
Have you ever felt, or do you reckon has a character ever felt more threatened by someone eating their food and drinking their drink at 7 a.m?
Yeah.
Great scene.
Yeah? Who? A character?
But it's another Tarantino film.
Which one?
The farmer, when he's drinking.
Okay.
Milk, yes,
Milk.
Inglourious Bastards.
Okay, yes, that is a great scene.
I
Anyway,
still think Pulp Fiction scene is better.
Me too.
The whole speech,
Pulp Fiction
yeah,
is
iconic.
best film, yeah.
Yeah, I have 2 tattoos dedicated to Pulp Fiction, both of which my auntie hates.
Shout out.
If you're listening, auntie, I still don't care. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
Just had to get that out there.
I almost think that those two movies have something common, Space Odyssey and Pulp Fiction, because it just means nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because you
The
read
whole-
the story that
It means nothing.
the story is about nothing. It doesn't mean nothing. It's just
We're talking about Pulp Fiction, guys, not Space Odyssey.
no. Yeah, I'm talking about Pulp Fiction. It's a story about nothing. It's still a story.
Yeah, no.
Anyway, I remember when I first watched Pulp Fiction, my dad made me watch it. Thank you, by the way. But I was like maybe 14. I didn't get it. Did not get it. But I watched it again, and I watched it again, and I watched it again. And it just slowly became like this just iconic piece of cinema that everyone has to watch. Pete, you might not enjoy it, whatever, but everyone has to watch. Like Space Odyssey, I'd agree. Everyone has to watch Pulp Fiction. It's it's just, I can't put into words how fantastic of a film it is.
I don't think I've ever met anyone that doesn't like Pulp Fiction, whereas
Exactly,
I've met a lot of people that don't like 2001.
One right here.
Yeah.
Pointing at Tom.
Speaking of watching it again and again and again, so when you were watching it again and again, did you kind of not like it, not really understand it, but you just kept watching it until you did?
Yeah, so again, the untrained film mind of my 14-year-old self was thinking, what is this film? I'm sure a few people thought that, but I watched it again maybe... I'm pretty sure the second time round I got Pulp Fiction, and I just fell in love with it. And then, yeah, I couldn't stop thinking about it. And then I think I've seen it about 6-7 times now, and it just gets better every time. There's always something I miss. There's always a scene that I forget. There's always a character who has a new best line. It's so I wouldn't say rewatchable, but watch it once a year and you'll fall in love with it and realise why it's one of the best films ever made. And I realise again why it's my favourite film. Like, I almost put it to one side of my mind and think I'm not gonna watch this for a year. Then when it comes around to that point again, that I get the itch to watch it.
Wow.
And it just blows me away every single time. The dialogue is on a no one does dialogue better than Tarantino. No one.
Speaking of watching it again and again, and also of dialogue, that is kind of how I was with one of my films that I was going to talk about, The Social Network, because the first time I watched it, I was like, what is this? I don't really, it's very talky, it's almost entirely talky, and I didn't really get it, but I watched it about 3 or 4 times more, because I knew it was good, but I didn't know why, and I wasn't getting it, but I knew there was more to it, and now it's one of my favourite films because, again, the dialogue is just unbelievable. The script is just completely, it's so tight. It's like, it is just iconic. It's an iconic script, and it's about Facebook, but it's not about Facebook. It's like, which I sound so pretentious, but it is about exclusivity, and it's about how Zuckerberg was with women, and it's about how he created a social network website, but he was rubbish with people and he didn't know people, and yet here he is, a billionaire in charge of however many, 2 billion people who are on Facebook, their lives, and it is so fantastic. And the performances, and it lost Best Picture to The King's Speech, which is a good film, a really good film, but who talks about The King's Speech anymore? Like,
no.
Does anyone reference that? Like,
maybe my grandparents.
My parents loved it.
Although that scene when he's swearing a lot,
that is great.
I haven't seen.
I see a few memes about that.
I haven't seen either of those films.
I can't
Still haven't
believe
seen
The Social Network.
Still haven't seen
You
The
haven't
Social.
seen The King's Speech?
No.
Yeah. Oh, the best supporting actor. What's he? He's awesome.
Jeffrey Rush.
Oh
Jeffrey
yes. Okay.
And what's the Helena Bonham Carter's in that as well?
Yes.
King's Speech. Yeah. So again,
King's Speech is great.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
I don't know why, but I didn't really connect with The Social Network. Maybe I need to watch it again.
Yeah.
I think I was a bit too young because it's so talky.
Yeah, I think it's because the first time around you're like, oh, this is about Facebook, and then there's a lot of jargon and there's a lot of talk of, algorithms and shit, and you're just like, yeah, okay, I don't really care.
I like
but
that stuff.
It's cool when he writes it on the window, but when you need to watch it a couple more times, because you just start, things just echo and you start connecting dots, and you just kind of realise what it's really about, and it's it's just I'm a bit vague, but it's just trust me, it's good.
I think for this podcast it's better to be vague when talking about films, so people, if you haven't watched that film, go watch it. This is your incentive to go watch it. But Beth's told me how good The Social Network is for the past 3 months, and I still haven't been to watch it. So
is it on? Is it
I
on
mean,
any?
it's kind of hard to watch
it
it in China. So
it's on Amazon, so I can watch it. And I think it's on Netflix as well. So I'll make sure I watch it before Christmas.
If the VPN connects.
I mean, I'm not giving you a deadline.
I'll give myself a deadline.
Sure. And then
The King's Speech.
Point something out about it
to
me,
who
has watched it quite a few times.
I will
and then
Okay, so we've had Space Odyssey, Pulp Fiction.
Although Space Odyssey is
not
my
yours.
favourite.
No, you go.
Well, this isn't my favourite. This is like top 3 or 5, but it's not my favourite film. But I just thought I was going to bring it up anyway. So.
Okay. Tom, you can go now.
Okay, well.
All right, that was great.
If we're talking about significant films, mine would have to be Saving Private Ryan. And everyone says that every boy's favourite movie is that or Shawshank Redemption. Yeah, Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
And that is a great film. I did enjoy that, but Saving Private Ryan was the first ever old film that I ever watched, and I was too young to watch it, and my mum allowed me to. Thank you, Linda.
Were you not traumatised by the man carrying his guts around?
Yeah, well,
I've not seen it.
It's something you have. It's just something you have to see. It's very, very graphic.
It is,
and it really shows how World War II would have been. You know, yeah. That first scene is ridiculous.
It's funny you say about every boy says either those two, because before me and Tom got together, I was obviously on Tinder. Just playing around, and one of the questions I would ask was, what's your favourite film? Because I was interested, and I don't think I ever got anything other than Saving Private Ryan and Shawshank Redemption.
Did you not get Pulp Fiction?
No.
Pulp Fiction is like the third one.
I know.
That is like up
I
there,
maybe
but
asked six guys, and it was like,
you never matched me.
I just didn't want to clash with
like
that.
Shawshank.
I would say that
Saving Private Ryan.
I would say that Pulp Fiction probably is my favourite.
Wait,
But
Pulp
obviously he's
Fiction's
saying
your
it.
favourite film?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Wow.
What?
I did not
Didn't
know
bring
that.
you up 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. No.
Saving Private Ryan's been like your favourite film.
I know it interchanges. I think about Saving Private Ryan. I think it holds a lot of importance for me personally, but I don't think it's the best film I've seen. Obviously, it's a very patriotic script. It's all about America, that kind of stuff, the beginning scene is at all the war graves, and at the end he's like crying and saluting, and it's very touching. But it's not my favourite film, but it definitely holds a lot of significance, and I think it's a very important film as well. But I would think that in terms of war films, Schindler's List is more important than Saving Private Ryan.
Of course. And
but it's just more significant for me.
If you haven't seen Schindler's List, be prepared.
Did you say Schindler's Lisp?
Yes. Schindler's List. No, Schindler's List. If you haven't seen it, it's
people will have seen it.
Harrowing.
It's
Harrowing.
a one-watch film.
Definitely.
That is it. Never watch it.
I've seen it twice.
I'm never watching it again. I don't know how you've seen that twice.
I just think it's
I
important.
actually found The Pianist more
Oh,
harrowing.
I haven't seen that.
that's a great film.
I've
I've
had-
seen that.
Yeah.
I've got it on my
that
list.
proper
Yeah.
shook me up. That
Yeah,
did.
yeah. The scene where they throw the guy off in the wheelchair off the building. It's just important. You have to watch films like that because it's only 70 odd years ago. It's so real.
And it's coming back.
In the shape of a big fat orange with some blonde hair.
Well, speaking of, we won't talk about it too much because we're talking about our favourite films, but speaking of Nazis, we did watch Black Klansman last weekend.
Oh, yes.
Which I was very disappointed because we came to China at the end of August, which was when Black Klansman was released in the UK, and I really wanted to see it, and I heard so much good stuff about it, and I enjoyed it. It was mostly just what I expected. I thought the performances were really good, and it's very on the nose, particularly the end bit, the end footage was
heavy.
That was brought a bit of a lump to my throat, to be honest, with the Charlottesville riots and stuff. What did you guys think?
I thought it was great. I thought it was a bit slow to start off with, and kind of it didn't drag on because I wasn't bored or anything like that. But I think because the end is so shock value and fast paced, it kind of makes you feel like the most of the film is quite slow, but it's not really when you think about it.
It's a good build up.
Yeah.
You get to know the characters, and you get to know.
Yeah, I thought it was really good, and quite like a dark comedy, really.
Yeah, Spike Lee does good. He does good comedy like that.
What else has he done? I don't know anything else he's done.
Yeah, I only know him because I kind of mentioned him in my dissertation because he was upset at Tarantino for using the N-word so much in Django Unchained,
But you have to.
But you have to, exactly. It's just like, I mean, the amount of time. But whatever.
We can talk about this all day.
That is murky waters that we don't want to get into anyway.
Yes.
So you've mentioned Saving Private Ryan, Thomas. Okay, shall we just talk about some more films that have had a huge impact on us?
Talk about a film. Yeah.
I want to bring this.
List.
I want to bring this one up because this was my second on the list actually. So I've got number 1 and number 2. This film for me, I think, is the best film that has been released this century so far. I think Whiplash. For me, Whiplash is 90 minutes of just non-stop tension, exhilaration. You don't know what's going to happen. I've never been so up and down with a film in my life. The end scene is, in my opinion, probably the best ever. I can't think, right off the top of my head right now, I can't think of a better end scene right now.
That's a big statement, Ed.
It is. There's no talking. There's no talking. It's just music, and it's amazing. The solo after the rest of the band stops, after the song is supposed to stop, and he continues. It's just this unstoppable force versus this immovable object that just clash for 90 minutes. It's just I cannot take my eyes off of it. Every time I watch it, I'm like, my stomach is churning, goosebumps. If you haven't seen it, just go watch it.
Definitely watch it.
You'll finish it and you'll be like,
yeah,
take it back to the beginning.
Performances are fantastic. Obviously, J.K. Simmons and Miles Teller.
J.K. Simmons won the Oscar for it as well.
He was brilliant. Best. It is a good movie. I wouldn't say it's the best in the last century. That's a big.
Yeah,
what would you say
that's a
is
big statement. I would, you mean in the 21st century?
In the 21st century so far, yeah. You don't have to say that. You don't have to think.
Well,
that,
just to jump in, Ed's rate just while Tom thinks about what he thinks the best movie of the last century is. Ed's raving about it had me. We both watched it about 3 weeks ago or something, and I wouldn't say, quite that much, but I definitely got the hype. I don't think I moved for the entire thing, and again my stomach was churning and I was just absolutely transfixed, and it was, I think my whole body was tense just from it. And I saw this review, because I always look up films after I watch them and stuff. I saw this review that called it an S&M movie without any sex, and I liked that. I kind of got that.
That's actually
so. Yeah, it was fun. I went in with no expectations. I think that's the best way to go into a film, and then coming out with it, I was like, and I've watched it again since, which is quite soon considering it wasn't that long ago.
I've only watched it once, but I did really enjoy it. To go back to films that are better than Whiplash, many films. It's a great film, but I don't know. I think obviously it's Inglourious Basterds is up there.
Yeah, what a film!
I think
what a film.
Yeah,
you actually look
The Departed.
like someone from Inglourious Basterds with that haircut of yours.
The Departed, which is another Martin Scorsese film, which is up there with Goodfellas. I think it's gripping right till the end, and it's a great cast, great acting. So yes, Whiplash is great.
Film.
Yeah,
Inglourious Basterds. Yeah, great opening scene, probably the best.
Yeah. Apart from Saving Private Ryan.
What, Inglourious Basterds opening scene?
Yeah, that is quite unrivaled in terms of tension as well.
He gets you waiting to a point where, and you just think, right, this is going to be it now, and then you wait some more, and then you're like, this is going to be it now, and then you just wait some more, and then you're just like so anxiety filled, and I just think that's fantastic.
2001.
2001, yeah.
It goes on so long, it's like, it's going to end now.
But it's all down to Christoph Waltz, though, isn't it? And the writing, obviously.
Christoph Waltz in Inglourious Basterds is probably the best.
Perfect fit, isn't he? Well, obviously.
Perfect fit. And then did he do anything after that for a while?
Django.
Oh yeah, of course. No, sorry,
James Bond.
Yeah, so I was really disappointed with him in James Bond.
He was in 3 scenes.
Yeah.
And he was the best thing about that film.
Well, yeah, but he just
But apparently he had more.
Spectre. Yeah.
Why would you cut Christoph Waltz?
I don't know. I think they made it shorter or something like that.
Did they? That was the longest James Bond
That
film
was-
ever.
Yeah.
I
It
think
wasn't even
so.
that good. Skyfall
It
was
was-
like
Skyfall was
twice
amazing.
as good. Twice as good.
Three
What was
times
that one
as-
called?
Spectre.
Spectre, yeah.
Ugh. That was...
The song sucked for it as well.
I quite liked it.
Was that
I enjoyed
Sam Smith?
Sam Smith, yeah.
Yeah,
I
it was-
enjoyed
yeah,
it.
it was-
I
was
liked
good.
it. It wasn't as good as
Yeah.
Adele's, but it was good.
Skyfall was great.
Yeah.
Skyfall was good.
That was good. Anyway,
Chris Cornell's, that's the best one.
yes. Oh, rest in
R.I.P.
peace.
What's that
Rest
one?
in peace.
That
was for
You Know
Casino
My
Royale.
Name, Casino Royale.
Yeah, that was a
Not
great
seen
one.
Casino Royale.
What?
Haven't you?
No.
Wow.
It's great.
Only.
I prefer Skyfall, but it's great.
Skyfall, Casino Royale.
I'd say Casino Royale and then Skyfall, actually.
Well, you're wrong.
What about Quantum of Solace and Spectre? Like, they're both...
No.
Spectre
great.
before Quantum of Solace.
Yeah, Spectre was like Spectre's watchable.
Yeah.
Quantum of Solace is just there's nothing there. What happens?
Yeah. He flips a car many times. That's the highlight of the film.
And
That
drinks
is
some
all
oil
anybody
at the
talks
end.
about. That is it.
All right.
Next film.
Beth, what is your favourite film?
My favourite film is The Incredibles, and it has
Yes.
been my favourite film since I was. God, how old was I in 2004?
8-ish.
Yes.
7 or 8.
Yeah. We watched it. I think it was like Christmas Eve or something like that. I think that's when it
Oh,
came
that's
out.
a good film.
So yeah, and I just remember just leaving the cinema, just buzzing. I was high as a kite, and the scene where Dash runs on water, I stood up in my seat physically. I was so excited. It just took me by surprise, and I was just like, oh my god. It's just a perfect film. It's just perfect. There's no beating it, and I was a little bit disappointed with The Incredibles 2. I thought I would be, but I mean, it's still good, but I wanted a prequel. I wanted...
Where was the Underminer?
Where was the Underminer?
That was the
Where?
whole point. That was the whole point.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it's the director that voices him, is it?
Brad Bird.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is
He
it?
voices him, and he's just an extra. He's just...
He does Edna mode as well.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
does.
yeah,
He does.
yeah.
But I read a thing on IMDb, and it was just that it was not supposed to be anything.
I didn't really think, to be fair, it wasn't until afterwards that my brother was like, where did the Underminer go? And I was like, oh yeah. But I really wanted a prequel with them all as superheroes in the 60s. You know, like how you saw at the beginning of
Before
the
they
first
got banned.
Incredibles. I thought that would have been a great film. And I guess they just wanted to continue the way, like, you know, with the kids and everything, because everyone loves them. But I just was I was like, yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
But that is my favourite film, and I thought, oh, it'll be something I'll grow out of after I'm a kid. I'll find a more grown-up favourite film. I'm yet to have been as impacted by anything as that. Just the sheer, like, joy of it.
It is pretty flawless.
Yeah.
It's
was
a
my
great
life.
film. It's probably my favourite Pixar film. That
Yeah.
and Monsters Inc. I'd say those two are
Call
my
it, yeah.
favourite.
Yeah.
They're still
Oh,
my
but I
favourites.
do love Wall-E.
Story.
And I do like Toy Story 3.
What about Wreck-It Ralph? Wreck-It Ralph is so clever, but I'm dreading
I
the
can-
second one. I don't think it's
Do you
going
not,
to be
do
any
you not
good.
like Wall-E?
Not
I think,
really.
oh,
Wall-E's
seen
good.
it.
but
It's alright.
I like it. I
What
like
about
it.
Up? Up was
Oh,
great.
I
Right.
don't want a
The first 10
Pixar film
minutes.
to give me an existential crisis. Now. I don't want to worry about 100 years or whenever, when we're all fat and we
Yeah.
can't
Up-
walk.
Up is, for me, I mean, fine, whatever. If you don't like Up, fine. But I hate it when people just complain that they say the best bit is the first 10 minutes. It's just like, yeah, it's
Harry
it's,
Bridges, we're
yeah,
talking to you.
exactly, Harry. I know you're listening. It's just like
I
people.
don't think he does listen, actually.
No, me neither. Anyway, it's such the colours of Up. It's just such a beautiful film. It's so nice. Those opening 10 minutes, yeah, they're sad, whatever. But it's the rest of the film. It's just it's so nice. The kid is great. The dog is great. Kevin the bird, what a character. It's just how can you not love the rest of Up as well as the opening 10 minutes? Like, if not more. I think
I'm
it's
surprised they
it's
didn't do,
brilliant. I think
like
Up is
anything
brilliant.
else with Up.
I don't think they should. Just leave Up. Definitely leave it.
Yeah, leave Up alone. No sequels for that one.
No.
Oh, they
You never
will.
know.
I'm sick of sequels.
Me
you know.
too. Pixar, they've gone
Although-
downhill very much.
Toy Story 4, come on. It was
Yeah,
such a great
that's-
ending for us, because we grew up with Andy and it was the right age and he passed on his
I'm just
toys.
interested to see where they're going to take it.
Why? You know where they've taken it to a point. he
I've
gave
never
his
returned.
toys to Bonnie.
It's a timeline, isn't it? For every kid.
We were Andy. We've left that story behind.
But can I just say that Walt Disney, I don't know whether it's true or not, but he did say it, that like Disney films are all about the pure enjoyment of it, and he wanted every generation, every 10 years, for his films to be remade. Whether he did in fact put that in his will or not, I'm not sure.
Every 10 years?
Every 10 years, because he wants every generation to enjoy
But generations
the
aren't
stories.
10 years. They're
No,
like...
it's every 50. I guess
Is
they're doing
it?
that with the Jungle Book. Like, well,
Yeah,
They've done-
ish.
Well, apparently, according to him, 10
Yeah.
years is a generation. Or, you know, steady income. But I do want to talk about The Lion King.
Yes.
Sure, we'll talk
yeah.
about that, yeah.
I don't understand that. I just don't understand what's what.
No, me neither.
You mean
Leave
the
original.
sequel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's not even a sequel, it's
The
a
remake.
remake.
Well,
A
that's...
live action remake when they're all animals. What?
Yeah.
What is going on?
The thing about it is, it'll look pretty.
It won't look pretty because all the
It will
colours
look
have been drained out of it.
No, I'm
It's all
talking.
super realistic, so none of the colour. It'll look really sharp and well done, but it won't be the pop of colour that the original was.
I
That's all
love...
I'm saying.
It's kind of like how they've stopped doing the... don't know if it was all hand drawn or well obviously originally it was, but they don't do like Disney princess movies hand drawn anymore. They do it all like CGI, like with Elsa and Frozen and all that stuff, and I just think that's the magic kind of goes with it a bit. I think the last one they did was The Princess and the Frog.
Yeah.
I just prefer it. It looks so beautiful.
Yeah.
And the original Lion King was just stunning.
Yeah.
I agree. I doubt I'll go and see it.
No.
I
I'm
didn't-
not fussed about it, to be
Yeah.
honest, but
I'm not fussed. I will go probably. I'd rather, if I could. I want to see the West End show. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
But I will probably go and see the remake of it, just because
But the story's exactly the same.
I know. I know. It's just I don't know. But,
Well, I might
who
see
knows?
it for Gambino. That's about it.
yeah, but you won't even appear or you won't even hear him until after the first half of the film.
Worth it.
Yeah, I guess
Worth
so.
it.
maybe get it on
Yeah.
Meerkat Movies, something like that.
Yeah. I wonder which songs they'll do as well for it. Like, will they do "Can't Wait to Be King"? Will they?
they better
will
use
they,
all of them.
They won't, because they only used 2 in the Jungle Book, didn't they?
That is terrible.
Which is arse.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
I think they're going, but like also because they're doing these remakes, like they're going more realistic, so they're not taking away the songs, like, well, they did take away a lot of the songs in Jungle Book, so they only had 2. They're probably gonna, I think they should definitely do Can't Wait to Be King, and they should definitely do the opening,
Yeah.
the whatever it's called, forgotten, can't believe it. What's the opening song called when the sun rises?
The Lion King.
Is it called The Lion King?
I don't know.
I can't help you, man.
The Circle of Life. The Circle of Life.
Circle
Yeah.
of Life.
That's it.
Circle of Life. They should absolutely do that. They
They
have
will,
to.
they will.
I mean, to be fair, I think that opening is going to be recreated shot for shot.
Well, they
So,
did. Like, I've seen those on Twitter about that.
Yeah, the
They are
trailer
doing
was
it
shot for shot, wasn't it?
but-
In fact.
I want to hear Seth Rogen sing Hakuna Matata. That would be great.
Of course, his Pumbaa will be good though.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Either way, it's stupid because
What
they're
are
all
their mouths
animals.
gonna look like?
I don't know.
They're gonna be lions that can move their mouths like humans. Is that gonna be it? Or are they gonna roar? Like, are their mouths gonna roar, but they're just dubbed over with English? Like,
Like a bad, like an early 2000s movie with like dogs as the characters and
dog
stuff.
buddies or what? Space buddies. Did you see that? It's when
No.
dogs
I was thinking of Cats and Dogs.
That's a
got
great
into a
film.
rocket and accidentally got shot up into space.
There's that one
That's an actual film.
Yeah, there was one recently
Actual
with
film.
the guy who plays Lego Batman or whatever. It was just crap.
Will
Arnie
Arnett.
Harmer.
Yeah.
What? Who?
Will Arnett.
Arnie
Will Arnett.
Harmer.
Arnie Harmer. Don't you know Arnie Harmer?
Arnie
Anyway,
Harmer.
why are we wasting our time
Arnie
talking
Harmer.
about crap?
Yes.
Let's talk
get
about
back
the
to
Grand
good.
Budapest Hotel,
Yes, let's.
Okay.
which is the best Wes Anderson film.
Not that you've seen them all or that I've seen them all.
No. From the ones I've seen,
From the-
obviously not his whole back catalogue, but it's my favourite.
From the 3
My favourite too.
I've seen, Grand Budapest, fantastic. Yeah, Fantastic Mr. Fox and most recently I Love Dogs. For
That's
me,
another one.
for me, sorry, yeah, Grand Budapest is great. For me, if I had to pick one of those three, I'd definitely go back to I Love Dogs every time. I Love Dogs was brilliant. I loved it.
Yeah.
For me, it's just that, but that was my first Wes Anderson experience. So for me to experience, it was almost like watching an original film. It really was. It was brilliant. I was sucked right in.
Well, it is an original film.
We get, I mean, like compared to today, we get one a year. That makes it mainstream.
What?
One original film. That
One
makes it
like
mainstream.
one original film. That's a big box office thing, and that was I Love Dogs was this year.
It wasn't a big box office.
Well, for me,
Yeah.
it was. It was talked about a lot because it was Wes Anderson, and he
Yeah.
made a big name for himself. So for me, I got sucked right into that, and
I
it
think
was
the
great.
first Wes Anderson because the first actual Wes Anderson I saw was Fantastic Mr. Fox, and I liked it, but I didn't really get it. But Grand Budapest, it's got everything. It's beautiful. It's pink. Ralph Fiennes is there. Willem Dafoe's there.
Great cameos.
Great.
Jude Law.
Jude Law. It's
Saoirse
it's
Ronan.
very
Saoirse
heartwarming.
Ronan.
It's a little bit like philosophical as well, but it's just, and the soundtrack is absolutely gorgeous. And I would listen to it whilst doing uni work and stuff because it's just very soothing. Yeah, it's just a gorgeous film.
Yeah.
And
Some of the
that's,
shots,
yeah.
like where they're in the big hall of the hotel and the outside of it. Some of the it's just so nice and pinky ready, and I just think it's great.
You just want to go,
It's
don't
just
you?
so pinky
the
ready.
big grand hall, and yeah, I think it's great. And
I think that's just Wes Anderson's style, though. He's very symmetrical.
yes,
He's so
yeah.
symmetrical. And I remember Fantastic Mr. Fox was on the TV a few years ago, and I watched it on Netflix, and I was like, I'm absolutely obsessed with stop motion. I think it's so clever, and I love watching it, and I just think it's great. Stop motion, it's just...
But the way that his real Grand Budapest in particular, that's almost like stop motion as well, which I know is a stupid thing to say, but it's so mechanical almost,
Yeah.
like the movements that people make and how precise everything is.
Well, I watched Fantastic Mr. Fox, and then I think it was like that week, Grand Budapest Hotel was on TV, and I was like,
I made you
I've
watch
seen
it.
this. No, it was on Channel 4.
Yeah, but you was with me, and you was like, "Oh, I haven't seen this before, or whatever."
I was getting ready, and it was on in the background, and I looked at it, and I was like, oh, I've seen this before, and I was like, no, I've seen this style before, and I was like, is this Wes Anderson? And that's when like the obsession began, and I think he is the Kubrick of this.
Wow.
Yeah, I genuinely think he's just... Well,
He's
I wanna
definitely a
say
genius.
he's got his particular style, and to be able to use that style in so many different, like, to go from animation to like live action, and then his new film is like a musical.
Is it a musical?
Oh wait, is that oh no, I'm thinking of...
You're thinking of the Coen Brothers, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm thinking of the Coen Brothers. No, what's his name?
We'll get onto them in a minute because I want to talk about
Oh, I
them.
think this is a war film.
Okay.
What, the one
can't
that's coming
remember.
up soon?
I'm
I thought
sure
it
it's
was about, I thought it was
something.
about France.
Yeah,
Oh, is it wartime France?
I can't remember. It's something completely different to something he's never done before.
But you will still watch it and know that it's him
Exactly,
because of
and
his style.
yeah, it's just iconic. He's just iconic.
I just think the shots in Grand Budapest are a lot better than in his stop motion ones, and I like the shots in Grand Budapest.
That's just because it's all got pink hues on.
I've seen.
Because you're a girl.
Oh my gosh, what was the one with Gwyneth Paltrow and
Iron Man.
no?
What?
Wes Anderson film?
Moonrise Kingdom.
The Tenenbaums.
Yeah, I believe so.
But anyway, yeah,
I
yeah, it's
know.
the Tenenbaums, and it was okay. And everyone says it's his best film, but I think it's not. I think
My
it's-
personal favourite is Isle of Dogs. I think... Oh, I was so excited when I found out he was doing a film about dogs. It was stop motion. It was Wes Anderson. And the title is basically you accidentally say I love dogs every time you say I love dogs.
That's the point, yes.
That's the point.
I know, it's
Emphasise it
great.
more.
So, yeah. And it was like the theme, the Japanese theme was just so cool. So cool.
Yes.
You could say it was culturally
Appropriate.
appropriate. Although the lead protagonist, well, no, like the human character that was the pushing force was an American gal.
No.
Yes.
That's not true. It was in Ontario, whatever his name was.
He didn't really do much, did he? He was kind of just going around
He
speaking.
did the whole thing.
She was like...
She was
Love
the
dogs.
protester.
Only near the end. He was the
he's
driving...
the main one.
He's
the main
guy.
protagonist, but he
He's not the main
doesn't
protagonist.
say
The
anything.
dogs
He
are
doesn't.
the protagonist.
Yeah, but like she is the pushing force behind the victory. Without her.
Just because she's the one that speaks English and doesn't mean that she's like the main one. Like just because you don't have to say anything. No, I mean like in terms of human characters, like just because he doesn't say anything doesn't mean that he doesn't push the narrative of the story. Like he leads it.
Yeah, he's finding his dog.
She just kind of sums it up.
Yeah.
Anyway, we mentioned the Coen brothers very quickly. Bring it back to that. My favourite of their films is Fargo. Fargo for me is the typical Coen brothers film that if you were to say you got to watch the Coen brothers, which one should you show me? Fargo. Always Fargo. It's hilarious. Beautifully shot, fantastic performance. I think Frances McDormand won Best Actress, as she should do in everything she's ever in.
God, that's Frances McDormand.
Yes.
Yeah.
How did I not know that?
She's married to one of them, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yes, of course it is. I'm so stupid. Yeah.
Wow. Well, you learn something new every day. It is for me. It's their best. I know. I'd put No Country for Old Men.
True Grit. Stuff like that. Maybe not True Grit.
True Grit is not a Coen brothers film because it is, but it's a remake. It's not like a typical. I did. It's not a typical Coen brothers film. Fargo, typical Coen brothers film. Barton Fink, typical Coen brothers film.
Brother, Where Art Thou?
Haven't seen that. Brother, Where Art Thou?
The
Big Lebowski, typical Coen brothers film. No Country for Old Men, typical.
That's my favourite for those
Coen brothers film. Yeah, they're probably the most eclectic directors out there. Like they've done everything pretty much. They've covered all genres. So
if they're eclectic, how can they be typical?
In terms of their style, like it's the writing, the humour. It's very black. It's very black, almost corny humour. It's strange. It's like
I didn't find Fargo funny.
Fargo's. Watch it again.
It is quite funny, but
watch it again.
Controversially, I prefer the first series of the TV show.
The TV show.
To the movie.
Oh, so good. Well, to be honest, we'll
talk about that in a TV show one, but go on.
Well, we watched the TV show before we saw the film.
We did, yes, yeah.
And I think was it my dad that downloaded Fargo for us, and then
we watched it on Netflix.
Oh yeah, the film. Yeah.
But I have to say, Billy Bob Thornton, that is like the best. One
of
the best
season
acting
is amazing.
Performances I've seen. I think it's
the second one is
fantastic.
Not that good.
Anyway, so Fargo is an absolute must-watch for anyone who wants to get into the Coen brothers. Start there. I mean, the only way is down, which is the sad thing.
No.
In terms of,
I think the all different in their own way.
Yeah, of course. I think that. Yeah.
Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou was particularly good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially the soundtrack. Enough said.
All right. Should I do how many? Should we done? We've been going on for a while. We'll do a few more. We'll do like 2 or 3 more.
Should we do honourable mentions?
Yeah,
well, I've not said what my favourite film is.
Yeah.
Okay, go on then.
Mine was Alien.
Oh yes.
Brilliant.
Good.
Who here has seen it? Have you seen it?
No.
Right, that's next weekend then.
Yes, I'll do that.
Alien is fantastic. Alien is 2001 is great, but I don't think I could watch that every weekend or
who could
whenever I could. But Alien is definitely a film I can put on when I'm happy, when I'm sad, when it's raining, whatever. Alien is just, the tension in it is just fantastic. And I was so disappointed with the Alien Covenant. So bad.
They've killed it, haven't they? But
Ridley Scott
truly, like the whole point of Alien is that he's not really in it. That he's not in it. It's just the tension built around him, and horror films now. Well, not horror films, but I don't think Alien's a horror film. It's just a thriller, isn't it? Really, but
yeah, it's just built for the modern day
films nowadays. When we saw Alien Covenant, it was just all about jump scares, and despite there being a twist in the plot, it was still quite predictable, and it was just like.
But Prometheus.
I enjoyed Prometheus.
I've seen Prometheus, but not any of the Alien films. I did like Prometheus,
yeah.
so I'm looking forward to watching it.
Alien is just fantastic.
Hopefully you'll be able to make the connection between Alien and Prometheus.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
I've only seen it once, and that was about 5 years ago.
Okay.
So
Me too.
But,
Directing
Yeah.
skills for Alien as well. Like there's a classic scene. I put it as one of the photos on my 20-minute challenge.
Yeah, rest in peace, John Hurt.
John Hurt. That whole scene, the director, Ridley Scott, said, you don't know, like, he didn't tell them what was going to happen. He just said, react normally.
I'm guessing John Hurt knew what was
Play
going
your
on.
characters, but react normally. And then you got such like a raw reaction to it, and it's just great.
I love hearing about directors' methods for things, unless it involves punching someone in the face like Alfred Hitchcock, or just
Stanley
abusing
Kubrick with The
someone.
Shining, yeah.
What was her name?
Shelley Duvall.
Shelley Duvall. But other than when it's like when there's a bit of method to the madness, I really love hearing about all the crazy stories of people.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny though, isn't it? Like there's only a select few directors nowadays that have like really specific methods, and like Kubrick, his attention to detail, like I mentioned earlier, it was just insane. And some of the methods, and it's hard to pick a modern day director.
Tarantino.
Christopher Nolan.
No. I mean, like, I'm gonna mention Marvel.
Oh, there we go. Go on then. Yeah, go on then. Get out of your system. You only have a minute from now.
No.
to tackle
I
Marvel.
just, you know what I mean though. You know where I'm going.
What about for the viewers, the listeners?
Who don't know where you're going.
Marvel
So
is
I just want to
rubbish.
say,
Ed loves Marvel, and Amy does not love Marvel, and that's
Wicked
therein
And there's
lies the
nothing
rivalry.
wrong with that.
I personally believe that Marvel is destroying Hollywood and destroying the integrity of films, and it's destroying people's brain cells and convincing them that this is what a good film is when it's not. It's really, really not. Every single Marvel film is exactly the same.
Yeah, spoon-fed.
That's
movies.
all I'll say.
Amy lived in France for 10 years, so she's basically French. So, you know how they are with like artsy
I did go to a film
films.
school, but
I lived in Hull for 22 years, and I think similar.
only
But anyway,
because of me.
You saw that Banksy art piece once and it changed your life.
Yeah, before some vandal thug in Hull like
What
decided
was
to.
it? Banksy Art in Hull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that one?
Was it no.
Raise the
Raise the
drawbridge.
drawbridge.
It was on a bridge that's been up for years in Hull, and it was regarding
On the
Brexit, I'd
bridge?
imagine. No, not that.
No,
but
it was a little
it was a
drawbridge.
little Brexit kind of thing, I'd imagine. Yeah, it was.
I'm
It was
surprised I
cool.
didn't hear about that.
It was right outside my uncle's work.
It's on
KP
Instagram.
Motors.
if you,
For all you car
Lights.
motorists in
You
Hull.
lights.
Sponsor us in the
Most
next
reliable.
podcast.
Yeah, we need them.
sponsored.
Yeah. Okay. So Alien was a great shout. That's a fantastic film.
Alien. Fantastic film. Honourable mentions, yes.
Honourable mentions. Okay, I'm gonna mention a couple. Speaking of Ridley Scott, Gladiator. What a film! What
Is he
a
making
film.
the remake?
I bloody hope not. Musicals. I'm gonna name one. My favourite, The Wizard of Oz. That is an absolute classic. Brilliant, can't be beaten. La La Land comes close, but Wizard of Oz will always reign supreme. There won't be another one like it.
I prefer the modern take of La La Land, but I'm not a massive fan of musicals.
Speaking of superhero films, Spider-Man 2001. That is my favourite one.
Tobey Maguire,
As
the
much
original.
as though I think Spider-Man 2 is the better film, Spider-Man 1 is my favourite because it was the first one I saw that changed that made me fall in love with Spider-Man at least before I even knew any other characters. And I'll do one more mention.
I think we could easily do another podcast about
We
films.
really
will.
could.
This
We
is-
really could.
We could. This has barely scratched the surface
Yeah.
I know.
of what we talk about. And
I think like the new routine will be maybe every other podcast will be China and every other podcast will be
non-China.
non-China.
Yeah,
like
that's probably
personal
what we're gonna
interests. I think we're going to do some music ones and definitely
TV
some
shows.
films and TV shows and
Yeah.
all that first world stuff.
Best film I've seen this year.
Are you
Sorry.
implying this place is not first world?
Definitely.
Yeah, best film I've seen this year. Three billboards.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Another
3
Francis
billboards
McDormand.
outside Ebbing, Missouri. That is
Great film.
brilliant, and
You
that's
said
where I'll
you
leave my
wasn't as
honourable
keen on that
mentions, and I'll leave a few for
I
next
just had
time.
some. We're not gonna debate about 3 billboards, but I don't know. It's just some comments about the relationship between the police officer and.
I liked that. They had a mutual respect for each other, but they didn't like each other. I liked that.
No, it was like they didn't like. There was a mutual whatever, and then near the end, there was like. He left her a massive letter with.
I didn't like that he killed himself so early in it. I don't know. It summed up nicely. I liked it.
Anyway, let's move on from because we don't want to. We're not gonna go into the details of that.
Sure.
Are we?
No. I was just saying that's my favourite film of this year.
Yeah, I would say the same.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Good stuff.
Yeah, possibly me too. Not to be.
With the second of Isle of Dogs. And yours would probably be Isle of Dogs
100%
first.
Isle of Dogs, yeah. I think it's
Billboard's
just.
second, or?
I think it's great.
I would put I Tonya's up there for this year.
Yeah.
Lady Bird.
Oh, Lady Bird.
Lady Bird.
Shape of Water was great as well.
That was last year.
No, that was this year. For us, for British people, that was this year.
Okay, yeah.
Because Hollywood don't care about us.
Yeah, they don't.
I like Titania.
And for obviously, Avengers: Infinity War for me, that was superb.
No.
That was superb. I can't remember. Oh, The Meg. For all of Jake, I hope you're listening. The Meg was a masterpiece. I really hope that didn't make
I can't believe I paid £6
What do you mean you can't believe?
No, I mean in awe rather than in a good or bad way.
Okay.
In because I've never paid money to go and see a film that I knew was going to be bad. But I was saying earlier, like it's almost like not quite as good because The Room is completely iconic, but I think it's almost how the people that went to see The Room must have felt when they saw it, because we were just laughing constantly, weren't we? We were just like every other line, every other action, even things that, because they try and make it deadpan and you're like supposed to laugh at when Jason Statham makes this wry little comment.
Oh my
you're
God,
supposed
it's Megalodon.
but you're not supposed to laugh at the action scenes. You're not supposed to laugh. But he gets dragged through the water by the shark so many times in like the most ridiculous way possible.
How? Surely you'd
Just
like be
watch it.
bitten off the.
No. He's on
film.
like he's got like a
hook,
rope or a hook.
yeah.
And then it just like flings him out of the water, and it just looks ridiculous. And unfortunately, as well. It's quite apt, but so it's filmed in China and it takes place in China. The love interest is Chinese, and because it is it's a Chinese love interest, and she has a daughter, and English is their second language, and so the delivery is not that great, and they, I don't know how to describe it. They just can't deliver it the way that you're supposed to, like their enunciation and stuff.
Yeah.
So that unfortunately adds to the comedy.
So they are American people playing Chinese people.
No, they're Chinese people.
So Jason
speaking
Statham's
English.
Chinese.
They're actually
sorry.
Chinese people.
Jason Statham is not Chinese. Jason Statham is American. He's like a SEAL or something, like a Navy SEAL.
Yeah.
And then Dwight from The Office is in it.
Rainn Wilson's in it.
Yes, Rainn Wilson plays a billionaire.
I'm so disappointed in him.
And he's like
This film's a
created this base where they're doing research and all this jazz, and the base is in the Chinese Ocean, off the shore of China, and so like it's owned by Chinese people, and so when the Megalodon finally surfaces and does its little attack, it's on a beach in China, and so Jason Statham's love interest is the daughter of the Chinese guy that runs it and all this stuff.
It's always the daughter of someone,
Yeah,
isn't it? Like we watched Five-Headed Shark Attack.
Thank God we're in the middle of China, by the way, so we don't get attacked by the Meg.
Yeah, I just
We're
want
safe in Henan.
Well, the thing in the middle.
Yeah.
That is quite
That's a lot of
You
land.
underestimate the Meg.
This Meg can do things.
Travels 1,000 miles on land just to reach us.
Yeah, it knows. It's listening to this right now. See you soon, Maggie.
Yeah, there you go.
See you soon, Maggie.
Yeah.
In China, we have yet to experience the cinema because everything that we want to see has been censored, and you can't really see it here. Like Bohemian Rhapsody, censored.
I
Star
dying
Is
to see
Born,
that as well.
censored.
We can watch that. I think we should try and watch that
We're going to
soon.
try and download it.
Yeah,
Hopefully there'll be good quality soon
Legally.
enough.
Not
Well, we've got...
illegally.
Oh no, Black Landsman's been released for a long time, hasn't it?
What's that, sorry?
I was thinking Black Landsman was more recent
Black
movie.
Black Klansman, yeah. That
It was last year, yeah.
Black
No.
Klansman.
Yeah.
Black Klansman.
Yeah, that's how I said it.
No, it wasn't
like
last year, it was in
Klansman.
August. It was this year.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it was. I don't think it's out on DVD yet. I don't know how that website that I legally use has managed to get hold of it.
There's hope then.
There is hope.
Can
I could
you
potentially try?
Can you double check on this very legal website to download Bohemian Rhapsody?
Yes, I will check.
Apparently, it's fabulous. It's great.
On thisislegal.com.
Yes, and check on thisislegal.org. Of Star Is Born as well, because my dad is listening to the soundtrack every day, and he's just on the phone to me saying how he just.
My dad said it was trash.
That's all he listens to.
I'm a big Lady Gaga fan, so I was really looking forward to it.
I'm a fan of her music. That's
She's
another
great.
podcast, but I think some of her stuff 10 years ago is great.
Yeah.
Born This Way was when we were we're going to talk about
music,
and
maybe
that
next
might be
week.
on there for
Next
when I
week.
talk about it. So.
Yeah.
What were your honourable mentions?
So Drive was going to be my honourable mention. I went through a big Ryan Gosling phase.
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't? That man. Whew.
Yeah.
Smoking.
And again, I think I love a film that the soundtrack complements the film so well. Like it's almost a part of the film, and that's I think it's one of the first films that I watched where the soundtrack just jumps out at you, and it's iconic. And I love that the driver hardly speaks, and that what you learn about him is through body language and other people talking about him in the third person rather than, and he's a very unknown character, and very little happened really. Well, stuff does happen, but it's not like, it's very character driven, and there's a bit of a love story in it, and Oscar Isaac's there, so that's always a bonus.
Another one that I love.
Yeah. It is a fab film, and Radio 1 did a remix of they showed the film, I think it was on Channel 4, and I think this was a few years ago, and artists covered the soundtrack, and it was really cool, and it just shows how like iconic you've never seen it.
No, I've not seen it yet.
Neither have I.
We need
Neither have
to
I.
watch that. Yeah, Bastille did one of the.
You could. So Amy showed.
We'll do Alien next weekend.
Okay.
And maybe the weekend after we'll do Drive.
Yes.
And then Bohemian Rhapsody.
If we can download it.
This is legal.
In 3 weeks. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
My honourable mentions. Let me think. Interstellar was definitely on there.
Oh, Inception as well. Yeah, of course.
I'm just a big sci-fi fan.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a big sci-fi Sam. Sci-fi Sam.
Sci-fi Sam, I love him.
When it's done right. What else do I have?
No one doesn't do anything wrong.
I had Mean Girls.
It's a great
film.
film.
What a film.
Great
Yes.
film.
Doctor Strangelove.
Great film.
Never seen it.
It's
So
it's,
good.
Kubrick again, isn't
yeah,
it?
that's iconic as
Am
well.
I going to be scared of this one as well?
No.
No, this is
It's
hilarious.
funny.
It's hilarious.
It's a mockumentary.
Absolutely.
Right.
500 Days of Summer.
Oh, we didn't talk about 500 Days
Sorry.
of Summer.
Oh,
You say it. Go on, say
500
it.
Days of Summer.
Oh, sorry.
No, that was on my honourable mentions, but just purely because it's just, has there ever been a better rom-com? I can't think of anything better than 500 Days of Summer. The soundtrack, the characters, like,
It's just nice, isn't
I've
it?
never watched a rom-com where I've hated the girl.
But you're not supposed to hate the girl. Well, you are. First time you watch it, you hate her, and you're like,
And they
Yeah.
don't get
what a
together,
bitch.
does he, as well, in the end?
And they don't get together.
Spoilers.
But
Sorry if
Jo-
you've not watched it.
Joseph
Neither have
Gordon-Levitt
I.
has said multiple times, like, watch it again and think of Tom as the villain. Think of him as the bad guy, and that will just, like, completely change things for you, because...
Really?
Yes, because she says from the beginning, I just want to be friends, and then they become kind of friends with benefits sort of thing, but they're not properly boyfriend and girlfriend, and she's not in love with him. But what he does actually is he projects everything onto her, and he's like, this is the girl for me. And even though she's...
I've watched it 6 times, I've never thought of it
yeah,
like that.
yeah,
That's crazy.
he has said that, because I think he gets a lot of asks like, didn't you hate Summer so much, and isn't she awful? And he's like, Tom's the bad guy because he doesn't take her words seriously, and he just projects her as like this manic pixie dream girl, which she is really. You know, when he goes on the date with that ginger girl, she sort of tries to tell him this and he doesn't listen. And so but either way, again, soundtrack is just amazing.
All the notes.
Yeah.
The Smiths, Regina Spektor, just
Regina Spektor.
Speaking of
What a
Oscar
lady.
Isaac, Elliot, one of my honourable mentions is Ex Machina.
Yes.
Oh, Ex Machina! I forgot about Ex Machina.
It's just such a simple movie, and there's nothing much to it because it's made by 4. They have it's in English anyway. So it's like it's just great, isn't it? It's
I
very
love that
really good
ginger
plot.
the ending.
Yeah, Donald
I've not
Gleason.
seen it.
It's fantastic.
Right.
I keep meaning to watch it. I see it on Netflix all the time. And I'm like, I need to watch that, but I go on Netflix to watch something else.
It's
and then
got
I'm
great,
like, okay, next time I'll watch that, and I just don't. And
Watch The Office.
Great beard.
I do genuinely.
I do the same.
The dance scene in that is just fantastic. I think it's what a great movie. And then my other one was The Magnificent Seven, which is the oldest movie of this discussion this evening.
What year is
No,
that?
I've mentioned Wizard of Oz. So
that's
and Trumpia, 36. So there you go.
Yeah.
That was made in the Depression.
I thought it was 39.
It's 36. It's in the 30s.
Yeah,
It's in the
yeah,
30s.
That's really
so,
interesting.
yeah.
What year is The Magnificent Seven?
62,
I think.
7, isn't it?
62, I think.
Whatever. Yeah, it's an old film.
Yeah, that's brilliant. It's just cool actors, you know, Steve McQueen and all that stuff, and Yul Brynner. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, everyone says it's classic, but
Yeah,
you should watch.
it's not the best.
You should watch the original to Magnificent Seven, which is Seven
Seven
Samurai.
Samurais, of course,
So,
yeah.
And that was a
50 film.
Yokinawa. No, not Yokinawa.
Something along them lines.
He's a famous Japanese director. I've forgotten his name.
Yeah.
Well, just to tease our next podcast, and also to talk about film, is that we got asked yesterday if we were a fan of Jackie Chan by a guy who we went to some Luoyang grottos, which again we'll talk about more next time. But we were all taking pictures of ourselves in front of the big, huge statues and stuff. We got asked for pictures by other Chinese tourists who were, you know, because we were the only white people there, which I expected. And this guy had pretty okay English, and he was talking to us, and we always are like, oh yeah, England, yeah, we're teachers. We kind of always have our answers ready. And he was like, do you... And then just thought for ages, and then just said, Jackie Chan.
Bruce Lee.
Like,
He was asking about action films, wasn't
he was trying to ask us if we like Jackie Chan.
And then he was like doing all the poses for...
Jackie Chan makes some rubbish movies, but he's also made some good ones.
Rush Hour's great.
Rush Hour. There was one called like The Drunken Warrior or something I liked. That was
I haven't seen many Jackie Chan films, to be fair. Oh, was
Jackie
he
Chan
The Spy
Adventures,
Next Door? The Spy Next Door. Great film.
Yeah.
Jackie
He did
Chan
one.
Adventures.
Oh, there was a
I've
great.
seen that.
Have you not? Oh my god.
Them
Talismans,
talismans. I had a few of them. That was
It's not a film.
great. It's
Oh,
a TV
it's a
show.
TV
It's
series.
a cartoon.
Oh,
So
no
it's for
way.
kids.
Add it to the
Very good.
list. Yeah,
We'll
we'll
just
just
watch
binge
it.
watch
Yeah.
Jackie Chan Adventures.
Sure,
I'd
why
still
not?
watch it. It's
It's
fantastic
great.
stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So that will be next time's
Yeah.
topic.
Yeah.
We'll talk about all of our trips that we've taken so far.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because that'll be good. They'll want to hear about.
Well, we
All of
think
that.
they do.
Yeah, no, they do. I can hear them now saying, we do.
Yeah. It's
So,
very interesting, guys.
we'll leave
We've
it-
had some very eventful things
Yeah.
happen to us in our trips.
Yeah. So we'll leave it there then, shall we?
Thanks
Yeah.
for listening to us waffle about films for an hour.
Yeah.
That actually made me happy. You know, it's good
Yeah.
to talk about
Yes.
something I'm extremely passionate about. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
books next time, guys. Yeah, just for me. And then body parts.
For Tom, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Sounds
love the gluteus maximus.
good. I bet you do. I bet
Wait,
you
this
do.
is a phalange, isn't it now?
Yeah,
Oh, for God's
phalanges,
sake.
phalangeal joint. Anyway,
Phalangeal joint, sorry.
Okay.
thank you for listening, guys, and we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See ya.